Right now, it's time to welcome to the show the coach of the Warriors, brought to you by Xfinity. Stay connected, protected, entertained. Steve Kerr with us. Coach, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Obviously, defense is not as formidable without Draymond. Steve, have teams started attacking you differently since Draymond left the lineup?
Well, I think there's a lot more room to attack the rim without Draymond. I mean, he's one of the best rim protectors in the league. So, I think teams have tried to attack us off the dribble, knowing he's not back there, and that's been an issue for us for sure.
How much more difficult also has it been, to prevent teams from attacking that way without Thompson? Has he been of sufficient strength to matter defensively, at least to the point where you go, man, we miss him when he's not there on the other end?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Klay is one of the best two-way players in the league, and so important for us. So we've missed him the last couple of nights. We've missed Andre, the last month or so. I think the fact that it's all kind of hit at once, with Draymond, Andre, and now Klay, it just makes us that much more vulnerable. So we have to put together a full 48-minute game. Our margin for error is much slimmer. And so, even though we played a great 40 minutes against Dallas and controlled the whole game, that 8-minute stretch in the fourth just killed us. And same thing against Denver. We played a pretty good game, and then, the final few minutes just killed us. And so our margin for error is slimmer, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be if you're missing, some of your best guys. So you just have to find a way to win.
Coach, to that point, you spoke last night about a lack of connectivity. How much of that do you think has been caused by the way the injuries have forced you to shuffle your lineup?
Well, that's not an excuse because every team has to deal with that. And I think over the course of the last 6 weeks since Draymond's been out, we've been connected for the most part. We're not as good, obviously, but we've been competing and we've won a lot of games without Draymond. But last night felt different to me. It just felt like we just didn't have a connection at the defensive end, and the ball wasn't moving as well as it could have been at the offensive end. And there's just a feeling, it's kind of an intangible when you know the team so well, like we do as a staff or watching them every day. I was actually very pleased with the process of the Denver and Dallas games, and felt good about the way we competed. But last night did not feel great, so we need to bounce back in that regard.
Do you look at a game like last night's, therefore, as an isolated incident or something that is revealing a more glaring hole that is harder and harder to fill while you're shorthanded?
I think to me, it's more the exception rather than the rule. You look at our season as a whole, we still have the number one defense in the league. We have a top 10 offense. We have the second best record in the league. We've had a great season by all accounts, but we've lost 6 of 8. And so, suddenly it's not looking quite as rosy, but you have to keep things in perspective. You have to understand that, every team goes through their stretches. For most of the season, we had pretty good health and we had good momentum. Same with Phoenix, and all of a sudden now Phoenix has Chris Paul out and, Devin Booker out, and it's their turn now. It's our turn now. And other teams are getting stronger. While, in the beginning of the season when we faced many of those teams, they were in similar predicaments that we are in now. So you really have to just look at this with some sensibility and understand that it's all part of it. You get through the regular season, you keep trying to get better, and hopefully you peak in the playoffs.
Coach, are there things, I think you addressed this last night after the game, things you can do as a staff in terms of the offense with Andrew to try to get him into a position where he's more comfortable and more in attack mode than he's been of late?
Yeah, I think so. There's always stuff you can do as a staff. I think any time that Andrew's struggling, the default has to be getting to the rim. He's such a dynamic athlete, and he's got so much strength and length that if he can attack and get near the basket, he can get down there and score or draw a foul. So I think he's been settling for a lot of jump shots lately, and I think he knows that. I think attacking and being more aggressive downhill will suit him well.
How many? Well, I'm just going to ask this point blank. Stephen Curry, by and large, has not had the kind of year shooting from 3-point range that he normally does. And while he seems to be trying to affect the offense, with more distribution, are you concerned at all that the struggles hitting the three are maybe, more a matter of teams, double teaming him all the time, and that's not going to change, and that you've got to figure out other ways to score? Or are you still viewing this as Steph Curry is Steph Curry and something will happen?
Yeah, I'm not worried about Steph. In fact, I think he's been brilliant over, the last 10 games or so. I know he had that stretch that was very well publicized when he didn't shoot well at all. And but over the last 10, he's shot the ball well. He's directed our team. He's navigated the entire situation with all of our injuries. He's really run the club. He's leading in the locker room. He's getting, double-figure assists almost every night. He's keeping his turnovers down. Defense has been good. So I think Steph's been brilliant. But I think on nights like last night when nobody else has it going, it's just going to be tough for us to win with the injuries that we have right now. So that's all. There's always a fine line between all this, between winning and losing in the NBA, and we've got our share of stuff that we're dealing with right now, and we'll get through it. And in the meantime, Steph is doing an incredible job just kind of keeping us afloat.
Steve, I think we're guilty as fans of looking at what a team is doing on defense and then on offense like they're separate. But you guys obviously didn't shoot the ball well from beyond the arc last night. When that happens, when these Warriors are not shooting the ball well, to what extent does that cause things to snowball? It's tougher to force other teams' bigs off the floor. You can't put them in a compromising position. With the misses, it puts more pressure on the defense because the other team can get out and run. So just missing shots, especially threes, how does that really compromise everything you guys are about when you're not shooting the ball well?
Well, I can't remember who made it up. Maybe it was Doc Rivers, but the expression "it's a make or miss league." There's a lot of truth to that, and I think as a staff, our job is always to assess the process and to look at the quality of shots. And if you get good shots and you feel good about the ball movement and the execution, and shots just don't go in, then you live with that. Because over the course of the season, stuff averages out, and if you have a good shooting team like we do, then you're going to be in good shape. We have the number one expected field goal percentage in the league this year, so that means we're getting good shots. It means the ball is moving. It means the guys are sharing it and looking after each other. But on the nights when the ball doesn't go in, it makes everything a lot more difficult, particularly if you're without Draymond, Andre, Klay, et cetera. So, like I said, the margin for error is a lot slimmer, and when the ball doesn't go in the hoop, if that margin is slim, then it's going to be tough to win.
Is there anything that coaching can do to affect that margin for error by widening it, or is it simply a matter of waiting till the reinforcements arrive?
No, that's what coaching is, for sure. You're constantly trying to get the most out of your players and help them succeed, and so there's all kinds of little things that we're doing. Maybe putting in a play for a guy, maybe changing a rotation, changing a matchup. We're looking at all that stuff constantly. We felt good about starting Moses the last couple of games. He started out last night, really well, knocking down a three, getting a bucket in transition. He's very physical, so he's a box-out guy, which we felt we needed last night going against one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. So, you make adjustments like that. And unfortunately for us and for Moses especially, he got hit pretty hard in the eye and couldn't play the rest of the game. But those are the kinds of moves that you make as a staff to try to give the team a little bump. And what that does is it makes your bench a little stronger because now you've got Jordan Poole and Otto Porter, kind of anchoring that bench unit, and so we're constantly tinkering and thinking of ways we can give ourselves a better chance to win. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but that's our job.
Steve, some observers thought that perhaps after Klay got sick, that maybe Poole wasn't starting because that was punitive, and it seems pretty obvious that, no, he's the sixth man and he's got to get used to that role, so he's going to continue to be the sixth man. So to that end, and I know you played a lot of different roles as a player, I mean, what are the challenges that Jordan Poole is having right now? Where is he with getting to the point where he's comfortable in that sixth-man role?
Well, when you look at lineups, you have to look at all five guys. And when Klay was out earlier, we were starting big. We had Draymond in the starting lineup as the four. And so we had, Wiggs, Draymond, Loon on the front line. That's a pretty big front line. Now we're starting Gary Payton because our defense has suffered over the last few weeks. So, if you want to start Steph and Gary Payton in the backcourt, which we're doing, you want to throw Jordan out there, that's a tiny, perimeter group. And going against an offensive rebounding team like Minnesota, you got to put somebody on Jared Vanderbilt, who's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. Those are the decisions you got to make. And so, while Jordan was definitely more in a groove as a starter, this is the role we need him in right now. And we've got to do everything we can to help him get more comfortable. And I thought he had some good moments last night. He played great in Portland. He's had a great season overall. And so, some tough games are going to be part of it, but we'll continue to try to get him as comfortable as possible, and we just need him to be really aggressive.
To the extent that you pay attention to this or devote a lot of time to it, how much, in your opinion, has the conference changed, at least on the upper half, since the first of the year? Does it look like it's a more difficult slog than it was? Are there teams that have suddenly jumped into your vision that weren't there before? Is there a way to evaluate that, or do you leave that to your lowly paid underlings?
I watch all these games every night, monitor the standings. I look at every team, and I know we feel really confident. In the West, there's a lot of great teams, but we feel confident playing against any of them, and that's why I'm not in a panicked mode right now. I know that this has been a tough stretch, but it's supposed to be tough, especially when you go through an 82-game season and stuff happens with injuries and absences, slumps, whatever it might be. It's a hard league. It's supposed to be hard, but if you can find a way to be healthy and playing well at the end of the year going into the playoffs, and that's our plan, that's what we think is going to happen, we feel great about our ability to beat anybody in the West.
Steve, we understand that Draymond has been on the floor at least a little bit. What can you share with us about how active he's been, how he's looked, and can we expect him to be around the team more even before he's back playing in games again?
Yeah, well, he played 3-on-3 today at our practice in Dallas, played with Klay and James Wiseman, Juan, Chris Chiozza, Moses Moody. So we had a really good 3-on-3 workout, and Draymond looked great, moving really well, healthy, confident, as you might expect, even talking a little trash.
No, really?
Yeah,
wow.
As you might, yeah. Who knew? But we miss that. We miss that trash talking. We miss that bravado, and so it was great to have him in the gym, and it was great to see him looking so good, and everything is going really well rehab wise, and we expect him back for sure. In the coming weeks.
How about having him around the team more before he's back on the floor?
Well, he's here obviously on the trip, and so it'll be great to have him with the guys. We had a film session today, and he spoke up in the session and was fantastic, as he always is. He's one of our key leaders, and we've missed him. So having him around the team is really important.
When was the last time he didn't talk trash?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, well, on the assumption then that it was before you got hired, assuming that's his natural state, when you're watching him play 3-on-3, do you use how he talks as a barometer of how he feels?
Yeah. I think the more he talks, the better he's feeling, for sure. Draymond loves to play, loves to compete, and when he's feeling good, he's talking a lot. So it goes hand in hand.
How has trash talking evolved since you played, Steve? I mean, you know Gary Payton, Michael. You've been around your share of some of the greats. Now you're coaching one of the greats in Draymond. How does Draymond stack up as a trash talker with some of the greats that you played with and against?
Oh, he's one of the all-time greats for sure, and it's a lost art, really. I mean, there's very little trash talking these days. These guys all know each other growing up now. They all meet when they're playing in the,
AAU and everything.
Best 12-year-old tournament in America, where they're like, these guys have been playing against each other for years by the time they get to the NBA. So there's way more feel-good moments and camaraderie, and you could get blown out by 40 points and everybody's still hugging the other team at the end, and it's way different, and so I think there's a lot less trash talking than ever before.
Is that bad for the sport?
Yes. The more trash talking, the better.
Coach, can we ask your thoughts on Pop, who is close? I think he's one game away from tying Don Nelson for the most coaching victories of all time. Obviously, you're very familiar with Pop, very influential in your career in a number of ways. As he approaches this record, and you reflect on your time with him, how much has he meant to you in your career, and how about that record that he's here on the verge of tying?
He's just been such an incredible influence on my life and my coaching mentor for sure, but someone I learned so much from as a player. A lot of what we do here in Golden State is stuff that I learned under Pop. The ball movement that you see, a lot of the offensive actions, the cultural aspect of our team. So much of it I learned in San Antonio from Pop. Just a brilliant coach, and mainly because he's an amazing communicator and such a compassionate person who loves life and loves people and loves being part of a team. And so I'm just incredibly lucky to have played for him and now, coached under him with the Olympics and Team USA and now to be, just a colleague and a friend. He's been amazing.
How expensive a bottle of wine do you have to send him when he does break the record to get him to notice it?
Honestly, you don't send him wine. That would be like sending Steph Curry, like shooting lessons or something. That's what Pop does. So he does the wine. You don't send him wine. Maybe
you do it as trash talking.
Could be. Yeah, like we're sending you a bottle of Manischewitz tonight, and we're gonna kick your ass.
Yeah,
that's how we're gonna treat you.
There you go. Say it with a $9 bottle.
I'd like to apologize to the good people at Manischewitz. That's my fault.
Nah, it's too late now. You're doomed.
Coach, thanks. Before we let you go, Klay back tomorrow. Moses Moody, update on him against the Mavs?
We're hoping. They're both questionable, but both practice today. So we're hoping they'll be able to play.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right. Steve Kerr, coach of the Warriors, got everything in order.